Hi, this is Jonathan Rosenherr, the Jerusalem psychotherapist. This week's Torah and Psychology post, Pasha Shemini and the War in Israel, is going to discuss sibling bereavement, which unfortunately is a topic which is tragically very relevant for this time, where there are so many siblings that have been thrown into this state of sibling bereavement. Since October the 7th, there are so many brothers and sisters that have been killed, that it means that the siblings that remain are now having to go through the sibling bereavement process. And in the research, there has been limited acknowledgement or understanding of this process, of what is involved in the experience of sibling bereavement. If we look at the research in terms of the death of a child, most of the research focuses on the experience of the parent, meaning, in the sense, the reversal of the natural order, the reversal of the order of a parent having to grieve the loss of their child rather than it being the other way around. And the research looks at this, the nature and the understanding and the experience and the coping of parents. But siblings, in a sense, are largely ignored in the research. That it's something which can be understood as being disenfranchised grief that is not really understood or acknowledged. And it's necessary to give attention to the unique process and the unique characteristics of sibling bereavement, to try to understand and to tailor the support, the therapy and the services, to be able to understand how best to help and to be able to understand what siblings need. Because there are certainly overlaps, but there are specific, unique aspects of a sibling and the sibling relationship that requires this tailoring of the services and support to help a person go through sibling bereavement. And in this week's parasha, we read about the death of Nadav and Avihu. And immediately afterwards, the pasuk says that Moshe spoke to Aaron and the remaining sons, to Elazar and Itamar, Abanav hanotrim, the remaining sons. And what is this wording of notrim, of remaining? What is this? What is to be understood, or the significance of the fact that Elazar and Itamar were the remaining children? It's not just a word used in the pasuk. If we look at the Mefarshim, we can understand that there is a specific significance and, in a sense, a definition of that. Now, Elazar and Itamar are Banav Hanotrim, they are the remaining sons. Both Rashi points out in saying that this perhaps is the connotation that they also should have died. Elazar and Itamar, there was perhaps a gezerah also on all of the children on all of the children of Aaron and Kohen because of the sin of the Egel Zahav, and therefore they should have been killed as well. But only half of the gezerah was carried out. Only Nadav and Avihu died, and Elazar and Itamar were remaining. Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch also picks up on this fact of Notrim is from the word of nishar, of to be remain, that they are remaining, and this is not just a word to describe the fact that by numerically they were the sons that were still alive, that they were still alive, but rather it is a title that they now had. They were a remaining son. That they too also, Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch understands, that should have died. They perhaps should have been killed as well. But through some merit, they were able to. They survived. So we see from the Mefarshim there's an understanding that Nodrim, being the remaining siblings, is a unique actually title and experience in and of itself. And perhaps if we take these Mefarshim, that suggests that there was a death punishment or a penalty that should have also been carried out. There was a gezerah that should have been carried out also on Elazar and Itamar to be killed, but they are still alive. This does touch on what is discussed in the research, that siblings often feel an immense sense of confusion and grief and also guilt that they are still alive and their sibling was killed. That they are still alive, that they were not killed perhaps, that maybe they should have died as well, maybe as well or instead of their sibling. There's a lot of confusion and there's a survivor's guilt that they remain and their sibling is now, and then the sibling is dead. So this actually can touch on this idea, this feeling of guilt, of being a remaining sibling, that goes into the complexity of the sibling bereavement. But not only that, due to the unique relationship and the research does touch on the fact that the bereavement of a sibling is unique because of the special relationship. That the sibling relationship is supposed to be and can be the closest relationship, and certainly the longest lasting relationship that the person has in their life. and they have shared experiences, and this unique relationship is an intrinsic part of a person's life. And if that is gone, if that has been taken away, when the sibling dies, in a sense, part of the remaining sibling's life, it has been taken away from them. That in a way they are dead as well, because they have lost a part of their life. So even though they remain, in a sense, this gezerah, this death penalty, has also been carried out. That is part of the complexity of the bereavement, because in a sense part of them is dead, part of themselves, part of their life, it has been killed as well. And what is the challenge of sibling bereavement is trying to understand what it means to now have this title of being the remaining sibling. This banav hanotrim is a way of defining their experience and defining the reality of their life now, that they are remaining, and they do need to carry on. They need to perhaps try to rework the dynamics of the family, the dynamics of the family relationships and the family system, and perhaps look to see how they can continue the legacy of their sibling. Perhaps there's some sort of a connection that remains intact, a connection with their sibling, even though they are dead. And this reworking of the family system is that part of the family system is now, there's a void that cannot be filled, but they need to try to understand what it means to now be alive and remaining, what it now means to take this title that they have, that they are now a remaining sibling, that they have to work through the sibling bereavement to acknowledge this title, and how it now impacts on their life going forward. And it will, in a sense, they have to try to find a way to integrate it and to accept this title that they now have of being the remaining sibling, and to move on through their life despite the loss and despite this relationship that is no longer in existence. And this is extremely difficult, and obviously it requires time, it requires a therapeutic process, and it requires support, and hopefully greater acknowledgement and understanding of the complexity and the challenge of sibling bereavement. Have a great Shabbos and keep well.